with it.
Are we live?
Yeah, with I Like Carla, we are live.
All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to what I believe is the 6th episode of the 3rd season of Second Sons. As always, I'm Roy Rogers. Joining me today is the full Second Sons crew, your favorite hosts of your favorite video/podcast of Game of Thrones. And I will throw to Sid. How are you doing, my friend? I feel like I just saw you.
You did just see me. We've had quite the 2018 of like hanging together. Someone's got their mic on or speaker on. I got an echo, so that's gonna drive me crazy. But I'm getting rested. I'm doing well. Recovering from Jesse's tournament and listening to myself in my headphones right now because
Is it
someone
only him?
needs to fix.
Yeah, I don't have
I
that
don't
problem
hear
at all.
I don't have it.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's only you.
I don't have it either.
So then it's
we're
not
just
my
gonna
fault.
drive Sid
I'm
last
dropping
game
this.
today. And speaking of that person, Buzz, everyone's favorite PUBG pro. How are you today, Mr. Aldrin?
That's
Died.
That's Mr. Malucci. Get it right.
Quiet, Laser. You can't talk in this segment.
No, we just died prior to the episode, so I'm kind of down. But we had some chicken dinners before. It's okay. It's okay.
And then excited Giants fan, Chris Schoenthal. How are you today, the champion of my heart?
I had a little bit of a rough day personally, but then we got some Sweet Thrones news, which perked me right up. So, also I got to eat before the cast, so my stomach won't be growling into my mic. A rare occurrence here at 7:45 p.m.
Well, and then live from Amazon's international headquarters for now until they get a second one in some mysterious place to be determined. How are you doing, Sandy Barnabas?
I'm doing well. I hit max level in WoW, so I've been, completing my tournament quests.
Oh,
Are you playing
that's
with
so
Brit?
rough, though. Oh my god.
Is Brit playing?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
Isn't he like the guild leader?
Yeah, he is.
So that is an invitation
guild
for
is
those
house
of you who know
follower.
who Brit is to join their guild. All
It's
right,
got a-
so
it's-
go ahead, Sandy.
I was going to say, it's got quite a few Thrones players.
A little bit
Does?
jealous.
Oh,
Just
this
a
world
little.
questing. I want to join.
I would gladly join it if I could allow myself to become reinvested in WoW, which I cannot do because I like my life, and I don't
That's
want
really
to.
smart. I'm trying to resist, and it's not working really well. So,
What does that mean?
Well-
Does that mean you just like watch them stream and drool?
no,
Like,
I
what's
I
not-
haven't
what is
paid
not-
yet, but I've leveled people to 20, which is the max you can level without paying. So,
Yeah, that's a gateway drug, man. You just gotta like, oh no. Anyway, so it's not like we don't have actual Thrones news to talk about. So let's just jump right into probably the most exciting week of Game of Thrones news that we've had in a couple of years. It feels like.
Long time.
We're gonna do today's announcement because we have one up on Wars to Come because it was announced today. Danny and Evan dropped on us that there's a new format coming to Game of Thrones, a card game, officially starting now, but with OP support after the regional season. If I read the announcements correctly.
Hang on.
correct.
Before we move on, do we know when that is?
No, so it'll be
Regional
after
season?
August. Probably.
I think it was at the start of regional season.
No,
Wasn't
it's
it?
yes, I
after.
believe it was.
After
No.
regional season.
I'm looking that up right now.
Okay,
I think it
continue.
was sooner.
The
but
Great
we'll see.
Hall will run after the regional championships have begun and will come with
Ah.
prizes to support it. So after they've begun, so it could be a similar thing to last year's event. They're
So that could be
tacked on
at any point in the future, technically. But
From next
So
week,
anytime
yeah.
from May to present, or
Yes.
May to.
I will say that the before we jump into the actual announcement, that the sort of weird combo announcement between the format and these specific events and their prizes was a little odd. Like that was some strange messaging.
I didn't understand. We'll come to it. Let's do
Um,
format first.
So the format, we'll talk later about the weird sort of tournament structure that they came up with to launch this, but I think we should talk about the competitive format because this is the premier competitive podcast for the game, which is that it's essentially if you play Magic or Yu-Gi-Oh or most other physical card games, basically adding a sideboard. Your rookery is, as far as I understand it, 12 cards. 10 draw deck cards, and 2 plot cards. And after agendas and factions are revealed, you can swap any of those cards from your Rookery into your regular deck, and then play the rest of the game with those cards. Then when the game ends, you are responsible for removing the Rookery cards from your deck and replacing them with the cards that you put in your Rookery at the beginning of the game. It's a errata to the setup phase, if I'm reading the rules again correctly. So basically, whatever that Reddit thing is, long story short, it's a sideboard, which I know a lot of competitive players, particularly Chris Schoenthal, who will be speaking in a second, have been begging for a while. So what do we think about it, Chris?
Wait, I've got a rules question before we get there, because I'd like to be clear. If your deck is like 65 cards, you still get a 10-card sideboard?
Yes, I will get to that actually.
Oh, that's going to be a nightmare to legislate.
Yeah, so that's
Well, just give us your general opinions, Chris, and then
sure. Yeah, I'm very excited. I don't know that a sideboard is the ideal solution for Thrones, but it's something I've always been very interested in trying. And now that it's here, I think we're going to get to try it. There's been a lot of speculation that it's going to immediately take over for Joust, as if Joust and Rookery are two completely as different as Joust and Melee are, which is absurd to me. But I'm not even convinced that's necessarily true, because the events that they've chosen to showcase it aren't necessarily when they give us something like a Rookery that's supposed to expand the metagame or make the metagame more interesting, and then they immediately constrict the metagame with their formatting. It makes it hard to get really good data on it. But in very broad strokes, I'm excited by it.
Roy, call on someone else.
Aaron?
Oh, hi, I'm Aaron. I think it's fantastic. I think this is the third good decision second edition has made since its inception. That's a change. And it should overtake Joust as soon as humanly possible. I am all for this. I think it makes the game far more interesting and takes, like, I wish they had it in first edition. Take care of basically every problem deck.
Good.
I love it. I mean, I don't know if I love it yet. I love the idea of it, and I think rolling it out in this side event is pretty good. What I would have liked to see, and this isn't really a criticism, this is just like an added thing. I would have liked to see them, and this is still possible because we don't have a regionals announcement. I would like them to give regional runners the option of doing their regional as Rookery or standard Joust. Just so that we could maybe get, like Chris said, maybe a little bit better data on how a kind of not highest but a higher tier tournament would play out with kind of open deck building with the Rookery rules. I'm really interested. Like if someone said, "Hey, this regional here, or maybe one regional per region, however it shakes out, is going to be a Rookery," that would be really exciting, I think. So I'd like to play it at a high level without going straight to the highest. So I haven't quite figured out when or how I'm going to play this thing, but I would like to play it at a pretty high level. Maybe that just means a community tournament grabs it and installs it, and we get to do it there. I hope so.
Buzz?
Yeah, someone asked in the Starlek group, our organizers group.
That?
Who was that? I don't know. Some American.
Who is that guy?
If any of the events would...
There's an American Road to Starlek event?
Yeah. Like in New York, maybe? No? No, so I haven't seen if anyone has answered yet, but I mean, it could be picked up by Road to Starlek. That'd be cool. Because I do agree with that it must be tried at regional or lower before going to nationals and worlds, etc. But I'm super excited. A fair amount of people in Sweden have been asking for this. Like, they're tired of the rock paper scissors thing. As a Martell player, it feels so bad not being able to play his Viperize and Vengeance Ferelia as much as they deserve, because in certain matchups they are 6 dead cards against Roy, for example.
Whatever deck Roy's playing.
Tyrell and Night's Watch, they suck.
I did do
Dead against both.
6 or 7 rounds without doing a military or power challenge in my top 16 game. I did win that game.
Yeah.
It's why I won the game, is because I only did intrigue challenges for those rounds. Right?
Which, I mean, that's the most interesting part, I think, that it could encourage people to run certain cards more often that aren't that good or that only suits. So like there's some cards feel like they're designed for a sideboard, like Lay Siege, for example. I mean, how many people won't have like Hand's Judgment and Nightmares in the sideboard? Because in certain matchups you need them, but in certain other matchups they are only good.
But it's 10 cards, man. You can't, like, just gonna make it 10 events.
It's an odd distinction to me because it's harder to say in this context, oh, this goes in your sideboard, because really you just have a bigger deck that you take 10 cards out of. There's never a point where you're playing with your main board.
Sure, yeah.
As the terminology goes. So, I mean, Nightmares goes in your 70. But I agree. But feels, whether it's in your main or your rookery isn't super relevant.
Yeah, it feels like events are the switch slots most of the time. Maybe attachments.
I think a
Rattleshirt's Raiders.
Yeah, attachment hates stuff like that.
A couple locations are really like JC Drummond, a really good sideboard in some games.
Anyway, Sandy, before we jump really into it, Sandy.
Yeah, so I think this is great. I think that it's going to increase the variety of decks that we see. I don't know. Somebody was trying to make the argument that it would lower variety because some decks don't do well if you can sideboard in answers. But that seems dumb. Because like you shouldn't play gimmick decks in the first place. Play good decks.
Says the guy who loves combo. Good.
I don't love combo.
Defended combo on this cast for a year straight. I don't love it.
No, I said combo. I said
He's
combo
been saying
was
it's trash for a
year.
year.
Yeah, I said combo was beatable.
Builders is very good. Yes.
Sandy has a lot of money on the wrong side of a bet against combo, so don't worry. He hates it, and he's paying for it.
No, I think that like first of all, had I gone to Canadian Nationals, combo would not have been.
Of course.
I was just playing the combo breaker. No, but I think what I guess I'm saying is that it actually makes more decks viable because you can now play a deck that is weak to one thing and just sideboard in your answers. Like, I think there's a lot of cards that don't see play right now. Specifically, maybe the 7 cards. Devout Freerider comes to mind. There's a couple of cards that are like, oh, man, if I can prevent these guys from getting gold in the challenges phase, I'll win this game. Well, maybe I'll put in my Devout Freeriders. Those are the only cards other than events that I think will go in the 10 cards. But yeah, I like it. I don't think there's any reason to do Joust anymore.
All right, Roy, tell us why you hate it.
I don't hate it. I just am more skeptical than other people.
Oh, wait, did we skip somebody?
As far as I know.
There's like 15 of us.
I went Chris, you, Sid, Buzz, Sandy, me, right?
All right,
so I'm probably the most skeptical here. I think it's really great. In some aspects, I like that it raises the skill cap of the game. Both in the sense of what cards go into your rookery, and what cards you want to swap in. It encourages things I like about the game, like scouting and team play, because scouting is going to become even more important with that. You know what the variant of, say, Tyrell Lion or whatever you're playing against in the round, so you know what to swap in and out of your rookery. But what I don't like is what?
You're putting that in the positives category.
I am putting that in the positives category. What I'm putting in the negatives category is I think it's a huge boost to mid-range, big guy bullshit decks. My least favorite deck in the format, because those decks have a problem with a lot of passive power decks, and they can't run the answers or other decks. The decks that there are problems, they can't run those answers because they're such bad cards in certain matchups, so that they aren't as in control. But now that they have this 10-card little space that they can pull the political disaster out to blow up builders or something like that, I think is bad for the game. Because again, I generally think that style of game is really boring on a competitive level, but I know that's a very unpopular opinion. Yeah, so I think there's a lot of things going for it, but I don't think it's an unalloyed, amazing thing. I think there's some drawbacks, and it's going to definitely, I actually think, flatten the meta a little bit, which I think a lot of people want, to be honest, about like the return of those kind of mid-range strategies that are at least semi-pushed out, unless you have a Greyjoy faction card right now.
I'm excited for my Build a Barristan deck because I run into problems where, okay, in some matchups I need Valor Dohaeris, in some matchups I need Valor, and some matchups I need this, and some matchups I need that. And this deck falls flat if it doesn't have the answers. So this is perfect for certain decks, and those are the outlier decks.
I'll just sideboard in my Strangler for that deck, and it will be fine.
But that's the fun game. It's it's an extra meta game, and we're gonna get more decks, right? It'll be more decks.
Everyone keeps going. Every sideboard's going to be the same. Every sideboard's the same, and it's like, man, not if you're doing it right. Like,
yeah, wait, that's an argument I haven't heard. That's a weird one.
People in the chat are making it. I've heard it a couple times in my 15 different chats I've had about this today, and I'm just like only if like 2 or 3 decks are good, because different decks need different answers for different shit. Like it super increases variety. I don't want tournaments that don't have this. This is such a good like all the most degenerate shit you can think of is solved by this.
Sort of.
What degenerate shit could survive this?
Combo can abuse this just as much as a mid-range deck can. I think it really pushes out builders and other location-heavy decks and things like that versus combo. And the things that people like really hate, I think, because decks that rely on even more answers, you can build a main deck, combo deck that's good against a 75%, and then put in the answer cards that the combo decks didn't even want to run, that you didn't have space for. But when you hit that one matchup, like let's say it's Greyjoy, I'm just gonna make a matchup like Greyjoy, right? Greyjoy Reigns, right? That's the one matchup that like your regular tech cards can't defeat. But if you have this 10, particularly plots that you don't, and you can hide plots that are bad in the matchup, right? That you want to run in your regular deck, but you can hide them in your Rookery for those matchups where you never want to have to Valor yourself or things like that. Like
this is, I don't think that's like, I think that hurts combo more than it helps. It's not like combo doesn't have answers right now.
I think it lets them run even more answers. I think it helps mid-range decks and other decks against combo because they can put Forgotten Plans, they can put fortified position
so if it helps
in their
Rookery.
Sides. But I'm gonna say on the cast, I make a bet right now. I think this will end up helping degenerate combo players more than the current community thinks, and because it gives them even more pool of answers to draw from.
Sure, but we also just got a tool to deal with that in the restricted list. Yeah. So we already have the tools to fix that if that becomes a problem. I'm certainly not saying that it won't become a problem. I see what you're saying, and I'm not convinced I agree, but the fact that you still have to obey the restricted list in your Rookery and things means I think that people are going to still have to figure out where the holes are, and then we can plug them with the restricted list.
So Lance in chat actually has a good question, though, that I think we should throw out there. I think this mean, or he asks, when does time start? So
absolutely starts after sideboarding.
Yeah, after sideboard. Okay, well then that means that we have to be, as tournament organizers, I include myself in this, and FFG, much clearer about these things.
Sure, there should be now a separate timing.
How long? 5 minutes?
I think
2 minutes.
Yeah, I think 5 minutes. It's 2 in Magic, right, Buzz?
I don't play Magic. But
I mean, obviously, just have them fucking sleeved in advance, right? So it's not like a 10-year process. Yeah. The problem is going to be
they definitely all go in the same sleeves as your deck. Like that's.
But the problem is did you add an extra card? Are you now running 61 cards because you wanted that extra card there?
So you can do that. That's something. Luckily, it one of the side benefits of it is it really messes up mill because you can add 10 cards to your deck, which is awesome. I can't wait to board up.
Oh wait, you can just run 7. You can just, wait, you can just run all the cards. Slow down.
Yeah, you can.
It says you can add and remove cards between your Rookery and your deck as long as it stays above the minimum number, so above 60, and you don't end up with more than 12 cards in your Rookery. So if you start with a 65-card deck, you can't board down to a 60-card deck and still put extra cards in your Rookery. But you can start with a 60 card deck, add the 10 to your deck, and not take any out.
That's awesome.
Yes.
That's
That's actually hilarious.
Someone like Bruno's.
I know. I texted
Right?
him
Like that's-
immediately. I texted him. I was like, I'm so scared and
man.
excited to see what you do with this.
Thank God Greg doesn't play anymore. Could you imagine Greg just being like,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna
Like-
add these 10 and win anyway, and no one's gonna does it? Oh
Yep.
God.
Do you remember that 84 card deck or something that he won with?
Yes.
Oh my god.
He's like, but I wanted more cards. Oh God.
They were all good.
So there were a couple. As much as excited as I am to this, I did see a couple dissenting opinions today online. Some of which gave more information about their dissent than others. I'll say that. Yes, but he never says why. Like he
Who
just
hates
says,
it?
"I want a refund."
Ibri.
But specifically, it was a valid point that I did see brought up was there isn't really any good enforcement in place to prevent banner decks or conclave decks from chipping away at their deck building restrictions based on the rookery. So that to me is something that I don't know if there's an easy answer for it, and I don't think that it's worse than not having it. So essentially, meaning you can put a bunch of neutral cards in your rookery, have your minimum 12 lion cards, and if the matchup calls for it, you can board down to just your 3 Tyrions, take out a bunch of lion cards, put in the neutral cards, and nobody would know the difference unless somebody called a tournament organizer on it, or take out some of your crappy maesters, so you're down to like 5 maesters or 6 maesters. Although in that case, like that'd be a little worse than in the banner case, because you actually need the maesters to do things. But sometimes your banner cards are just in there because you have to have at least 12.
I mean, fine. Like making banners more playable isn't necessarily a bad thing. Banners matter.
It's not.
No,
it's not
no,
a
he's
matter
not
of
saying that
playable.
you
He's
can't
saying
legally
people
do
will
that, Aaron.
cheat, Aaron.
Like,
He's saying
theoretically,
people
you
will
have to. Your deck always has to be meeting
now, right?
the banner requirement at
No,
all
but
times.
now
So,
they're
like,
on the deck.
What's
Your deck list is legal. There's nothing to stop you from.
when's the last time anyone's done a deck list check? Like, as far as I'm aware, they didn't even do that at Gen Con.
Sure.
Stalik?
Right. So
so
Stalik is the one
Var-
tournament in the world.
Every single wrote to Stalik.
Okay. So in North America,
Okay.
there are literally 0 deck checks. If you want to be cheating that way, there is absolutely nothing stopping you.
Sure. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not saying that it's an ill that is overcoming the good of the format. I definitely don't want to say that.
Deck checks, I do think, and Platt brought this up in chat, I do think they happen randomly at Worlds. It wasn't as fully systematic as Stalik, right? Because at Stalik, eventually everybody gets their deck checked, right?
Oh, Hunter brings up a good point. We did
the whole top
J2
of like
deck checks at
64.
U.S. Nationals last year.
But so the point of this is they could do a deck check, and it wouldn't matter because you just hand them your whole deck plus your rookery and just be like, yeah, there it is, and they'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, it's all there. And it wouldn't really matter if someone suspected. They'd have to like catch the deck before it went back into the box or something.
At the end of the day, fine. If you care enough to cheat that way, like, more power to you, homie. Like, seriously, there's enough ways to cheat if you really give a shit to cheat that, like, fine. No one's making money off this game. Okay, cool.
So,
I mean, that's my perspective too, but I figured I'd bring it up as something that someone had mentioned that is a reasonable point.
Yeah, no, I get it. Like, some people just really like cheating. Cool. Good for them.
So I also think one of the problems is this is sort of the primary format rather than just a variant, is that the game wasn't actually designed and the cards weren't designed for this format, right? There are certain
Are you trying to imply the cards were designed for something?
Yes, they were designed for a game with these functioning rules. Like Political Disaster is not a card that was designed that you could take it out of your plot deck.
I agree.
And the whole plot mechanic and and having 7 of them was
but
not
PD
designed
doesn't get
this way.
played, and no one plays in respect of it. Now they will. It's a good thing.
I think this is.
I play in respect of it.
A very, very hypocritical argument
From the builder
coming
player?
from
Why
someone.
is it the builder's player?
No, I mean we talk a lot of shit about game design in this podcast about how like certain cards are just too good or broken or dumb or whatever. So you're saying the game designers had such perfect vision when they were printing the first set of cards that changing the rules like this makes it totally unplayable. Like,
They were designed with fundamental rules, Sandy. Fundamental rules. So just
restricted list. There was no restricted list when the game first came out. That's a fundamental rule change too.
Yes, I agree.
That's the only one against a restricted list. But I think that's why I think that's why that's a hypocritical argument.
That's fine. You can call me a hypocrite, but I think that the restricted list is completely different than this because this fundamentally changes the way the game was. And the game was designed with rotation in mind, which is removing cards permanently from the card pool.
But restricted list doesn't remove cards permanently from the card pool.
Yes, it does. It means there's a set of them you can't play because you're playing the other set.
Yeah,
doesn't remove them permanently from the card pool. You're confused by the meaning of the word permanently.
Right, but the difference that Roy is suggesting is clear in that one is a pre-tournament thing. You have to build your deck with it in mind. And one is a meta-gaming issue that it changes the value of actual design cards. The restricted list does not do that. It changes their relative value. It doesn't change their absolute value, like political disaster now being something that you have there's no downside in you running.
So I'd also like to suggest that
the downsides of running it are still valid.
Yeah. Like you still have to build your deck around it, dude.
But you know going in that you'll be able to outweigh those downsides with the benefit of it having an effect.
Right.
Instead of regular games, it might be useful.
It's never used. It only operates really as a check against degeneracy. Because most decks are running enough locations that political disaster is a really bad play. I don't think it's not being run because of 4 reserve or anything else. I think it's not being run because Barra has 4 extra locations they want to run, and Martell has 5 extra locations they want to run, and Tark has 6 extra locations they want to run, and even Stark's best cards besides attachments are locations. So like everyone's like, man, I'd really like to run political disaster, but I need all these locations. So that downside still completely exists. The only reason you have to run it is if degenerate location deck builders starts coming back around again. Because otherwise, the downside to even bothering with it in your sideboard outweighs the upside.
I think it's also telling that Aaron and I actually agree on something.
That means nothing.
Doesn't mean you're right, but that's fine.
Sure. The earth is also flat.
That's a bad argument. Like when people say, well, I'm not liked by liberals and conservatives. That just means you're an asshole. Not that you're right.
So, Roy, are you a flat earth believer? Because just because all the scientists in the world agree.
But what does?
Yeah, let's just do a deep dive into some logical fallacies here. I'm into it.
Let's go full out. What is it? What is our pre-show called? NWO, and just talk about conspiracy theories for half an hour.
Yeah,
sounds fun.
But what does it mean for
bringing us back on topic?
Okay.
So other sort of general thoughts. So all right, I guess the big elephant in the room here is this a pilot program for Danny to replace Joust with Rookery, or Rookery to become Joust?
Yes, please.
Okay, what game did Danny play before Thrones?
Magic.
What is all his design suggest he really is?
Maybe it's just brainstorm with my champ card.
So since Danny really misses sideboards, really misses Magic. Magic has sideboards. All his designs suggest he wants this, and he wrote the goddamn article that introduces this. I'm going to go on a limb and suggest by this time next year this is the format of Thrones.
That was some real nice writing, by the way.
Yeah.
It was enjoyable to read.
I agreed with his points. And, I mean, it's so odd. It would be super odd to introduce this, run it for one event, and then nope.
I mean, if everyone hates it, they will, right?
But it's also...
The response is almost universally positive.
It also seems, I think it opens up a design space that is another place for them to exploit, right? So now you have Rookery, you have take a card from your Rookery and put it into play, or if this card is in your Rookery, do some bullshit. And I mean, I don't know that there should be cards like that, but it is possible to go into that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you're
Does
correct.
Magic have cards that interact with the sideboard?
Absolutely. So any card, there's a lot of Magic cards that say do something from out of the game. Like there's a series of cards called wishes that are instants that you get any card. And when you're playing across the kitchen table, you can go into your 100 card binder and pull any card out. But in tournament play, those are restricted to the 15 cards in your sideboard.
That's cool.
So there's definitely some utility there.
The
other thing I'm excited
naval bitches.
The other thing that I'm excited for that hasn't really been brought up here, but was brought up by Danny in his article, was the idea of like a transformational sideboard, which in Magic generally means removing a chunk of your deck and putting in a chunk that makes it essentially a different deck. Now, I don't know if 10 cards is enough to do that, but
oh my God,
the
is
idea
it Black Sails 2.0?
Exactly. Yeah. Like switching from say like this is not a good example because there's clearly not enough cards to do this, but say switching from a wall deck, taking out 10 cards and putting in enough cards to be like a Night's Watch aggro crossing deck, like that.
Night's Watch is probably the closest faction you could do that.
Yeah, Night's Watch has the best chance of doing it, I think.
I don't
know if 10 cards is enough. But
like Greyjuice Stag could do it, like one defensive dominance tech and one like offensive stealth tech, stuff like that.
Yeah, 3 Marias, 3 Davos in the board.
So kind of like a variable banner, right? You can kind of like switch out your banner style. There's enough for that, I think.
Tyrell, go from Mace to Knights.
Yeah, that's a lot of cards you got to change.
That's a lot.
About 10 maybe.
3 Maces.
But you could go like Knight or like Stark banner that's all attachment heavy stuff to like maybe a Rush Stark package. You could kind of mix back and forth, which would be cool.
You could probably do a Stark Watch defense versus aggro. They run it like the Star cards are fucking the same. You just switch which Night's Watch cards.
Sure. Someone in chat brought up the idea of switching Danny's, which would be funny.
Yeah, you could switch to the
just worst, like take out the
worst old Danny.
Yeah.
That's a decision you can make. You can run the bad Danny.
Hey, insight is good, man.
Yeah, sure is. You know what else is good? Killing someone every time playing an event.
Well, we'll get there, Blazer. We'll get there.
The other point that Squallgriever Lionheart brought up was the idea of that the decklist sharing in the cut kind of took away that it gave people perfect information. If you add the rookery back in, you gain that back. You gain that imperfect information back. It's not
sort of
as ideal, but you definitely can still really do things like put March in your rookery as a bluff and never play it. Like so they know you have access to it, but they don't know if you boarded it in, stuff like that.
And what happens if like I play Chris in the Swiss, and then we play each other again in the cut, and
that's
our
awesome.
sideboarding back and forth? Like what happens then? That's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it definitely does solve the problem that a lot of people have always wanted, where they want a Swiss deck and they want a cut deck. And I think that's definitely true with plots, right? Because there are some plots that are usually better in the Swiss, and some plots that are better when you're in the cut. Naval superiority being one of those that is better, I think, in the Swiss than it usually is in the cut. And so that's an interesting aspect of the game that you get. So with this.
So here's a rules question that wasn't made clear. Is somebody brought up that somebody brought up the new Danny versus old Danny. It's not clear based on the wording of the rookery whether that's legal or not. We don't know whether we can play 3 Dannies in each, and as long as your deck's legal after, that's fine. It should be that way. I would expect it to function that way, that you could switch Dannies or something like that, but there's not indication based on the rules that's the case, because the wording specifically
that does become kind of nightmarish. That's even like
you're bringing cards in from your rookery that can be potentially.
God, I'm doing that like immediately.
So it says the wording is a rookery may contain up to 12 total cards, up to 10, and all cards must be cards that can legally be included in a player's draw or plot deck. So I guess you could make an argument that says you can't put more than 3 Dandies because they couldn't be legal.
Sounds like to me.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's disappointing.
Ethan has a good question, which is, do we think that it should be public information? So you could say, I'm swapping 6 cards.
No, absolutely not. And
No, absolutely not. Yeah.
the way it's done in Magic a lot of times, and the way I intend to do it, is leave them the same. I shuffle all 10 cards from my rookery in, and then take 10 cards out, so they have no idea how many I've switched out.
But you
I'd
always
do a
take
big
9
show
out.
even if I
Always
took
9.
out 0. I'd just be like, oh yeah, no. Oh yeah, this one. You gotta make them think you're really putting in the work, even if you're like, no, I've got the perfect deck for you.
Right? Yeah.
I'm gonna do the opposite. I'm just going to randomly select what cards go in, just like shuffle them out and be like, I'll take these 60.
Playing like
Just
an
show
English
your
man.
opponent. Hey, grab 10. Grab 10. Doesn't matter.
All
my
10
God.
the ultimate like disrespect.
Sh-
move.
shame-
Like, it doesn't
shame-
matter what
You
card
pick
take.
10.
You-
You pick 10.
This is something Josh will do for sure. For sure.
Fate is on my side.
Does anyone have anything else about the sideboard itself before we move into Great Hall events?
I think so. I'll believe it's happening right. Our new joust form.
I'm not
So
giving.
Roy, want to announce this for board
I'm
yet?
going to say like 75%.
No.
I think
We'll
if
see.
it was, it would just be rolled out. I think he's testing the waters and making sure it is going to be a good thing.
I mean,
Like, I guess it could go south, but I think it'll be fine.
I think it's the intention of it is to make it the joust format.
Being cautious, right? He's being cautious about the rollout, and he's gonna see.
well, I mean, this is the rollout. Like, it's not like if he just said all new tournaments have to be this format, that would be
Well, no, even
that would
if
be
he
a
said it was-
spectacularly bad idea.
now he's just saying there's going to be these funky events during the summer that you can try this out. Like right now, like that's all we know.
It could end up being, if they do 2-day regionals again, that this is the side format rather than
Right.
melee. Which is a little sad as
Ooh.
somebody who
Eh.
enjoys melee a lot.
Yeah, that would be bad.
But I think that's what they're
Wait.
going to end up doing. Because they said, the way the announcements worded, right? Some point at when,
But I mean,
or they'll give the kit to the people who did regionals. So like when you buy your regionals kit, you'll get basically the free one, like they did with the Battle of the Trident.
Yeah.
how much is
Ooh.
Nate in the signing stuff now? 0. Okay, because he hates melee. He's like, I'm from SoCal. I hate melee. Always. So.
Look, Nate's got to be right sometimes. But hey, can we make our Battle with the Wars to Come this format?
Ooh,
Why would we?
Oh,
Yeah, of course.
let's
Of
do it.
course.
Why would we not?
I'm into it.
I think we should re-rank based on how good we are with a sideboard, because I think I'd go up in that ranking.
I'd probably go down. I'd probably go down.
So I don't believe Sandy gets better because that lets him make deck building decisions, and we all know that shit don't work.
Dude, okay, it's on now. I'm not going to lose a rookery game, I've decided.
Ooh.
This is my way to a card design. I'm just not going to lose a
Is
game.
Andy's number one. Number
Hey,
one
guys.
rank. Get the final match.
Is Chudsberg on team
He
Wars
is.
to Come?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's saying nah. But since he's not actually on that fucking
But-
podcast, we
But
don't
the
care
others
about
say,
it.
"Oh
I mean, I
shit,
agree.
hell
I
yeah,
agree
let's
with
do
Judd.
it."
He and I can
etc.
play without it. I don't. Passion
Are
either
you
way.
guys in the matchup? Are you in Ched's?
I believe so.
Okay, yeah, you guys can play without it.
Yeah, and everyone else will play with it because I'm sure Jesse's
Fine.
for it too.
Alejandro just trying to throw Chudsberg out.
Yeah, Alejandro in chat right now, just sitting like, okay, we can find another.
I mean, I'm looking to run a rookery event in my area in like the next couple of weeks, either the last weekend in April or the first weekend in May. So I want to try the format out. I think I'm pretty excited for the format, but I think that it has its drawbacks.
Did any
It's a
chance
big
that,
fundamental change to the game.
Kubla becomes a rookery format?
Oh,
I
Sid.
would say the chance is probably 0.
Oh.
But I mean, unless Stalik like issues some decree where they're like, all road to Stalik shall be a rookery, in which case I've got to tote the line. Like there are bigger forces at work here. Kubla has hitched its sail to a larger force, but I don't think that's happening.
Well,
I
who
imagine
do I talk to
Those
about this?
conversations will start though. I think everyone's kind of in a wait and see, right? Like
Yeah.
everyone wants to see what it's like. I don't think any huge decisions like RTS is Rookery or regionals is Rookery or well, nationals. What about nationals? If we get a nationals, could we see like Rookery at nationals as a
I think
big
that's too
premier
early
role?
for an official event.
I don't think we're going to see any for this season up to this Worlds. I don't think we're going to see any of the like pyramid events be officially Rookery. I think we might see side events. Like there'll probably be a Rookery side event at Gen Con. There'll be other things, but I don't think like. Yeah.
It's weird to me because I don't know that I'd be like I am very excited for its existence, but it's going to be tough for me to get up for an event that is the same format just with 10 more cards as the main event that I played the day before. Like it's not great as a side event format because it's not different enough than the main event.
I agree with that.
Yeah, but I just like then when do you run it besides at this weirdly formatted Great Hall event?
I understand, and I think you're right that there will be one at Gen Con. I'm just saying I'm going to have to force myself to play in it to support the idea of the format. While
It ended
not
up being
really
like on Wednesday or something. Or do they let you into the main room on Wednesdays?
No, Wednesday's badges only, but it could
it's
be
Thursday, yeah, or something like before Melee, before anything else. To give space.
We could have a hashtag Second Sons campaign, much like we did for the restricted list for Rookeries.
I'd be down. Hey, does anyone have a deck for me to play? What's good? I don't have a house to play anymore, so like I have no idea what to play. I'm playing in a tournament where the Martell box isn't legal.
HRD Starfall.
Is it legal?
Martell box isn't
Martell
legal.
is not.
Oh, isn't legal? Oh, you want me to give you the deck I played?
Yeah, just play that.
Really good deck.
No, I mean I physically need a deck too because I think Jesse has my deck.
Somebody in chat mail Sandy a deck so we can move on.
Thank you. I was gonna get one from Alex Black, but he didn't make it to Thrones today. So
classic.
Did we talk this to death, or are we going to talk a little bit about the Great Hall events?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right,
yeah, let's talk Great Hall.
We
the Great Hall events
talk Great Hall event because it's so weird.
So weird. Yeah. So there are 4 factions that they selected that you can build a deck out of, and that's the ones that the main prize support is coming from. And then
it's interesting that they randomly selected the 4 houses that they had tokens already made for. I don't know. That's very convenient.
That's very weird. And then you can't build. So you can't do like Bara Stag. Right, it has to be either a mono agenda from what I understand.
Bara Stag anyway.
Or Bara Kraken. I'm sorry. I meant to do Greyjoy Kraken, or Greater Stag rather. But anyway, you can't run a banner from one of the other 4 marquee factions, correct? But you can run the mono, right?
Yes,
so
you can run the mono, or
you
can run one of the 4 factions that weren't selected with a banner from one of the 4 that were selected.
Right,
Those and then only deck choices you have.
Right, and then the reverse rules are true for the non-selected factions. Correct.
The non-selected factions have to, if you play one of those, you have to play a banner to one of the 4 selected. You can't play anything else.
Okay.
So there's no Lannister Fealty, there's no Lannister Crossing, there's no Night's Watch, Winter, or anything like that. It has to be, if it's not one of the 4 main factions, you have to banner to one of those 4 factions.
Yeah. So there's awesome prize support, but it's a weird format.
Why?
Yep.
Just why?
It's a fine. I mean, I think it's a fun format, right? Like you have deck build. Obviously, the community loves where you have deck building restrictions that are like external. I mean, look at this. Yeah. So like, this is a way for them to cash in on that enthusiasm or something. I don't know. But it's a fun format. It's not straight up joust. I like it. It's thematic. More power to them. I would love to see.
I wish Martell.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the theme is.
The theme is those 4 houses.
The theme is the Martell box came out recently, and people, Yeah.
No, I mean, I think that I really enjoy just the fact that they're trying stuff like this. Yeah. Like, this is good. I would love to see more of this. Weird formats, one-off tournaments, or like even the Battle of the Trident stuff was awesome, but like that was so long ago. I don't know. It really seems to me, and like taking a step back, the news this week has kind of made me cautiously optimistic that FFG may know what they're doing, or may have like some sort of idea about how the game should evolve, or like, yeah.
It feels like the winds of change, right? It definitely
does. Yeah,
it does. Gives me a little bit of hope, and that frightens me.
It's been a good week, gentlemen, for announcements.
We
but
should.
I'm
talk about the other
excited to go to one
And
of
it's
these events.
Tuesday night. Like,
Yeah,
I know.
yeah. It's like
The rest of
it's like the meme from 30 Rock where Liz Lemon goes, "Oh, what a week, eh?" And the boss goes, "Liz, it's Tuesday."
It's actually like what a year, and it's
Right.
like January or whatever because it's at the end
February, I
of the
think, is also
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited to go to a Rookery event. I'm just because the prize support is sweet, and like Tyrell is also one of the factions that was picked, right?
You mean a great holiday?
season. Like
Tyrell and Martel. Oh, I wonder what people are gonna play at this
I
very
wonder.
special exclusive
Well,
event.
luckily, if you expect that you know what people are going to play, there's a fix for that. You get 10 cards to figure that out.
That's
True, you do.
Those 10 cards in my Barra deck. They're so good.
Oh yeah, Sid. Sid's living the Barra dream now.
Not a chance. Not a chance.
So I think we've sort of talked this out to death. I'm sure we'll talk about it again. Considering how much my fellow hosts are excited about it, I think we'll probably talk it to death before any of the events actually happen. And then when the events happen, we'll just be like, oh yeah, sure. It's the way of life, the way the show works. So
we already know of 3 tournaments running in that format.
what are the 3 tournaments that are running in that format?
Chris is running his tournament CT. Harrenhal in Minnesota is running with that format, and Roy's War event is going to run with that format. So that's 3, right?
Is that
2 of those 3 things have been announced. One of them has not. So
I thought
Confirmed.
Aaron just announced it.
Aaron can announce all the things he wants.
I mean, I'm a king, so your king commands it. That's
You're-
a card.
King
Aaron's team gets to use the Rookery, and no one else.
You better
does.
watch. You're going to get red weddinged off the king list here. I'm the George Martin of this tournament.
That just means
So-
he'll never fucking commit to anything.
Yep. See, you called me perfectly, Glazer. Almost like you know me well. So I think I'm going to turn the transition wheel switch thing and switch to the other major FFG announcement, which is starter decks.
Roy is bad at metaphors.
I am terrible at metaphors. That's why I was not an English major. But I was good at transitions. So we have starter decks for 8 factions.
Intro packs.
Intro packs.
Sure, sorry.
Challenger decks, whatever you want to call them.
Challenge
Buzz,
decks, I like it.
as I understand it, you, our intrepid reporter, have some additional information that
Not
was not in
exclusive.
the announcement. Not exclusive, but it's additional.
But it might be exclusive.
Could be. Me?
Yes, you, Buzz,
Okay.
our intrepid reporter. You did the
I have it
internet-
pulled up if you want me to read it.
Sure. Go ahead, because I haven't.
So
Okay. Chris.
Buzz did some intrepid reporting and talked to a contact at Fantasy Flight who had some additional information for us on these decks. He mentioned a couple things. He said that the time frame will be around Q3 is when they'll be coming out. So don't expect these before Gen Con. I could see him maybe doing an early release of Gen Con, but Q3 is the target for these. He mentioned that the numbers of the cards involved will be a mix, so it won't all be 1-ofs, it won't all be 3-ofs. It'll be kind of a mishmash depending on how they felt on that day, I suppose. And then we will be getting articles for each deck with full deck lists published before the decks come out. So we'll be able to see what we're getting before we're able to buy them.
I think the biggest thing in there is that they're going to be real decks. So that means there could be in a Lance deck, for example, 3 Tyrians or 3 Tywins, which is a huge thing. I think that was one of the most debated points yesterday when the announcement was made. I think when I was on Wars to Come, that was sort of the skepticism. Everybody was kind of like, these are going to end up being, 1x Tyrion, 1x Jaime, 1x Cersei, 1x Kevin kind of decks.
We should
so
start
it looks like they're going to be real decks that you could take to an event.
Guys, we should
They're
start announcing.
going to be all fealty decks.
We
which
should
means
start
okay.
announcing.
Start the
We should-
beginners off.
Guys, we should start announcing when one was going to be on Wars to Come, so like people know to watch. Because otherwise, their 6 viewers are just going to miss us.
Why was that?
What were you saying? What actual useful thing were you saying, Sandy?
I wasn't really, but I think it will be announced at Gen Con. But they're fealty decks, which means that they actually will have primarily that faction cards, which is really nice. I think for a faction loyalists, which I mean, we're not L5R, but there are some people that really enjoy just a single faction. And I think it's also really, from a new player perspective, it's a lot more maybe thematic to have just a Tyrell deck versus like Tyrell Wolf. Like, when did those guys work together in the show? We don't know. Like, whatever. So I mean, personally, I'm looking forward to taking these decks and like basically evangelizing the game. Like, I'll probably buy a full set of these, and then like every time I have a board game night at work or something, we'll just
bring them out. Yeah.
Yep. That's absolutely my plan as well.
I'm the same way. Like I don't have a group of regular players, but I do meet up with gamers here and there, and like people have made the argument that a core set does that, but man, you got to put a core set. You can't just carry on a core set and be like, it's ready to go. It's not ready to go. There's a lot you have to do to it before you can just like sit down and play. Yeah, it's not great for this. But if you just have 1, 2, like which 2 do you want to play against, and you just have all 6, like that's kind of exciting, They grab one of these, they grab one of those, and they're like, all right, let's put these 2 together and let's go. And you play. I'm excited. I think it's gonna be fun. I'm gonna have them at KublaCon trying to get more people into the game. You better believe it.
You'll have them at KublaCon 2019.
I don't think it's going to affect anyone in this podcast at all.
One of the more
I feel like it's irrelevant to us.
Things though about this that came out of the discussion yesterday was people who work at actual game stores were the most skeptical about this. They didn't like that it's going to take up 8 product spots for Game of Thrones, the card game, which is an actual like retail thing. But it's
SKU creep is a real thing.
And then the other point is Brad Eman in particular was pushing this, was that he doesn't actually believe, and he's someone who his job at his store is to push games on people. He's their top salesman, that it's actually good to teach new players with these things, where he thinks that a core set and a passionate player is a much better way to do it. And just having a deck built that you would just give someone and play with them is a much better way than this kind of like random deck that's awkward. It doesn't fit into the card pool. It's a weird investment. It's sort of just in an awkward place. So, and I found Brad's, and I hopefully Brad will come on someone's show. I invited him on tonight actually, but he wasn't able to do it.
That sounds horrible to say, right? Like clarify, say his full name every time.
Brad Eman.
There you go.
Sure. Eman. I'll just go by his last name then. If he would come on the show and talk about this, because I think it's an interesting perspective that we don't really think about with the new player experience, because so many of us, we spend time in game stores, but we're detached from the reality of game stores. Samuel's another person that I would love to hear about this from. And that's sort of the only sort of like chink in the armor of this announcement, which I was very excited for. Besides the fact that it literally doesn't encourage me to purchase them, because you only get an alt art house card and an alt art fealty. That's the only
only
for $15, and then I get more.
I can't wait. I'm so excited.
I don't know.
I actually, I agree with a lot of the criticisms in terms of SKU creep, and like I think the LCG model in general is terrible for stores because you have to keep like 8 million packs out, and like people only ever buy one. There's no like repeatable sales, but whatever. That's all. That's neither here nor there. The actual value of this is not, I think, in game stores necessarily. I think it's conventions. I think it's the like when people are looking for games to buy, like, oh, buy 3 core sets and then you can have a good experience. But like we could actually run starter deck only tournaments and say $15 gets you a deck and you can play, or you can just enter for free or whatever. Like that works in Magic, right? Isn't it? Aren't there sealed deck tournaments?
Sure, although it's not the same because sealed deck in Magic is still a randomized format because it's 6 randomized boosters. So it's not exactly the same. You'd know exactly everybody's deck list going in. So it wouldn't be quite as exciting to do a whole tournament unless you had, say, 8 new players and they each had one of these decks.
Right. So like
one of the sure, and that's the scenario I'm envisioning is John Bruno goes to Gen Con for Destiny, forgets his Thrones cards at home, goes and buys one of these off the shelf, and then wins the joust with it. And then Go from there.
That'd be so funny.
Yeah.
I mean,
So,
these decks are
Glazer's
going to be
officially
trash.
bored by
right?
this discussion.
I guess yes. I feel like these decks are going to be trash. I feel like this will
Sure.
be bring in like a couple of new players, but very, very few that actually stick around when they realize what else they have to invest. And at the end of the day, like, this isn't really going to affect anyone on this podcast. We're a competitive like players
Well,
podcast, and
I think
this won't affect competitive players except like
Are you-
I don't know, rats.
It's going to affect my pocketbook because I'm going to have to buy them for the fealties.
I think, but again, I think this is a step in the right direction, right? Like now you have an entry point that isn't 3 core sets plus a shitload of crap. And if at the end of the next step that I would love to see them take in my dreams, right, is at the end of each cycle, just release all the chapter packs in that cycle as one product, and don't have them like be still, a track down 6 or however many chapter packs there are. I don't know. Just like have easy ways for people to buy stuff. I don't know why that's so hard.
How about
Because
just
stores-
stop releasing them as pack cycles and just release the block? And that'll reduce skew right there. Just give us the block. Just boom
No,
all
look,
at once.
Well, but
Look, they're
then
not.
there's
gonna
the-
do that, right?
then there's the issue of like
Right.
actually not having any new cards for like I don't know a year, however long it takes.
No, it would be. They would if
3
they did
months.
that.
6
It
to
would be
8.
it would be every 3 months, right? Which is the Wizards schedule and most
That's
collectible
close
card
to a
game
year.
schedules.
Well,
Right?
but
It's
what they-
every 3 months you get.
The same as another living card game Versus does right now. So
Oh, I like versus, but I'd like if they are stuck with the chapter pack model, and they seem to be, is at least once they're over, wait like 2 or 3 months, and then do like a previous chapter pack box, and you can get like the whole chunk on discount.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, why not do that? Because like then having to buy fucking
because that's
Like-
further skews for the store because they can then order the packs individually or with the 6 packs. And
Sure, but
fewer sales
it
on those
doesn't-
because
but
they're
it-
gonna stop buying the packs. They're just
No,
gonna start.
it doesn't
selling them.
it doesn't because like at the fine. I mean, at the very least, your competitive player base cannot wait 6 months to buy like every chapter pack, right? Like that. We still, all us suckers, at me, still have to buy them as they come out for our competitive play, for our weekly tournaments, for everything that we have going on. It's only for people who be getting involved with the game at a later date that this would
Yeah.
benefit. And like, hey, it benefits FFG to make it easier for people to join the game later. If you join the game later and you have to buy 3 products instead of 18 products, that is far easier. Having to track down 18 different chapter packs is freaking absurd. And it's more than 18. But you
Well,
get the idea.
Theoretically, to me, the thing I like as an entry point for these decks is that you can buy them and then you could listen to like the White Book episode where we list like the best chapter packs to buy, and then buy like 4 chapter packs, slot in, say, Flea Bottom right into your deck and a couple of low cost people
Yeah.
that came from those chapter packs, and use it as a base without necessarily buying a core set. And then you can like basically do what Aaron knows I did in first edition, which is like haphazardly purchase cores. Like I didn't get my 3rd core set until Dan Struhall gifted me a bunch of cards. I had 2 core sets and deluxe boxes and like weird chapter packs that I bought. Like, oh, I'm interested in exploring this archetype. Which chapter packs do I need to buy to get those cards? And like
There was
this
an
makes
article
that sort of
serious about that.
experience possible for players now, which I think is interesting. At least it's a possible way to begin consuming the game that's different and maybe has a slightly less cost of entry. But of course, most people should not be like me. They should just buy a collection. But as people pointed out yesterday, when people buy collections, that's kind of a wash for us as like growing the game, right? You lose a player, gain a player. So we want to constantly be gaining players, even if it's not at a gigantic rate, right? For the game to stay alive. So
And that's why I think we can't just worry about the competitive people. Like we need to take opportunities to help those inroads and get new people into the game, or else it's just going to be us. And I love you guys, but I like it when new people show up to tournaments. Like it
Me too.
really makes me happy.
I
go ahead, Buzz. Buzz
Uh,
has points.
Is that Sid's wife or something?
Yeah, she
Yeah.
just said she was going to start playing in tournaments.
Yes.
She's behind that.
Winning.
She used to. She played CCG for like a year.
Cool.
Wow,
So-
that's awesome.
My
She got
big
hosed
issue.
at Kubla and was like, "I'm done."
My big issue with the packs probably is it's only ever valuable if you have very driven player. We don't really have that so much in Stockholm, so I don't think it's going to be a valuable product here. You need Chris, who buys stuff and brings it to work. You need Sandy, who buys stuff and brings it to work, etc. You need, I guess, Scantrell is this kind of person. Will definitely is. But many metas don't have these people. And you need an excited person who teaches the game in order for this to be valuable, I think.
Yeah, and I agree with Buzz. And as someone who did a lot of this when I started, you also need to be able to plug these people into like something else. So there's like the weekly meetup, but you need to be able to say, oh, well, you like this game competitively, you should go to this event and this event and this event, and be able to reliably say, here's the schedule for them. Like one of the issues I ran into when I was doing this early in 2.0 is be like, yeah, you should come to our weekly meetup. They're like, cool, when's the first tournament? I'm like, well, we don't know when regionals are, and New York City didn't get a regional, and we don't know if there's going to be an event at Gen Con yet, and where's the world schedule, and this like all these other things. Now we're in a better place now, particularly, I mean, Europe always had this because Europe has the Road to Stolic and it has feeder events into Road of Stolic events. So there's this great network of sort of tournaments that you can plug into. But in the United States, it was much harder. But now with Nect and CT and Will and Jesse are building in the Midwest, and what Sid is going to be launching in a couple months, like you can legitimately say, oh, okay, you like this game. Here's like, oh, you want to buy in? Cool, that's awesome. You can go to Tom's tournament in 2 weeks and play then, and then in June we have Dance with Dragons, and then we'll have regionals. Like there's a lot of like you can now plug new players into this competitive scene in a more consistent way than I think in North America we ever had, and that's what makes me more excited for these packs and makes me excited that FFG is going back to new players, because through no actions on their own, the game is in a more of a better place to grow than it was actually when we.
You couldn't bring yourself to say the word fault, huh?
Well, so again, I wanna say this is like maybe it's more of a symbolic gesture or whatever, but like somebody's paying attention to Thrones, somebody's like actually coming up with new ideas. That's good. Whether or not this is a sufficient step by itself, probably not. Almost certainly not. It's good, but it's not going to turn the game around. But if they continue to innovate like this, I will withhold judgment. Until the rest of the news this week, I will withhold judgment.
I mean, we're all expecting a big announcement tomorrow and Thursday and Friday, right? I mean, at this rate, every day. I think we should all be expecting 5 Thrones announcements.
All right. Is that all the news? Are we done with the news section? All right, awesome. So
good. Now we get to the episode.
We can now get to the actual episode. Woo. How much time are we in here? We're in here. I don't even know. So what happened was this weekend that sort of tore through the community in an amazing way, and one of the best events I've ever attended was Jesse's Name Day tournament, which 4 of the hosts here attended, and we probably made the other 2 that didn't attend jealous that they weren't there. We descended upon only Illinois. Proved that Jesse should be mayor because we created huge amounts of business for the town on this day, and they should form JesseCon. It was a great experience. I had the great opportunity to talk with Jesse and CT and everybody about it yesterday. So I'm going to sort of turn this over to my friends and colleagues who haven't had an opportunity to talk about their experience, and we'll start with my fellow former king, Sid. How was your Jesse's experience?
It was amazing. I was lucky enough to win the contest, which allowed me to fly out there and hang out with everybody and be a regent once again. Took a hiatus, I thought, from being a regent due to not getting it this year for Thrones War, and I was actually happy about that. And then he was like, hey, by the way, since you're coming, why don't you be a regent too? And I was like, oh, okay, why not? I had no real big goals going into the draft. It was just like, all right, I know Alejandro, and I know some of these other people, but not very well. So I'm going to get Alejandro if I can, and then just whatever. Make sure they've played Thrones before. And it worked out. I never predicted that Team Lannister would do any better than middle of the road. and we did middle of the road. So exactly as good as I thought. Some people had us much lower. CT notoriously put us as team number 8. Jesse thought for sure Barra would do better than me, and I was just like, listen, guys, I know you don't believe in me or my team, but this crew, we're not schlubs. We haven't been sitting around just wasting time. We've been building and testing and working on it, and Lannister's in not that bad a shape. So I made a bet with Jesse. I said, I'll kick your ass. Bear's going down. I'm totally beating you. And then I actually thought we would do better, and we were poised to do better. We were 1 and 2 seed going in, and then both our boys got knocked out in top 16. It was really, really disappointing for them, for me as a regent. We all kind of like hugged it out afterwards because we thought we had a good shot, not of maybe winning, but of really kind of grabbing a lot of wins in the cut and moving up. So that was the only real disappointing thing on the day when we got stopped short there.
Were the 1 and 2 seeds your only horses in the cut?
They were, and we had 2 other guys that at 4-2 with high strength of schedule going into that final round, and they both lost really close games. And so we were a little bummed about that too, because with 4 in the cut, it would have been really interesting. Well, I mean, had we actually won any games in the cut, but the fact that we held on to a tie basically for 3rd place. I know they give Stark the tiebreaker, but it was basically there. And with 0 wins in the cut, felt pretty good. Much better. Fun. But as far as the weekend went, it was a blast. I met a ton of new people, and that's always my favorite part about Big Thrones events is just meeting lots and lots of new people. A lot of big Second Sons fans out there, which was great. And got to experience Olney in all its grandeur, minus the mythical white squirrel.
Yeah, no, the white squirrel that does not exist.
Is this a rib?
This is a rib.
Oh God, the show and Salt asked, "Is this a rib?" like 5 million times the weekend.
I definitely did
Chris,
not.
Besides ribbing, what went on for you at Jesse's?
It was. I thought it was a really fun bonding time for the community. The Thrones part, going in, I wasn't too excited, and leaving, I wasn't too excited. Except to be done with playing squid cards for the rest of my life, or until they're
until you're forced to draft them next year for Ryan's event.
Yeah. But the dad van with David Moran, Alex Black, and the SoCal crew driving 3 hours each way was great. Got some delicious food both ways. Time to hang out with some people that I don't get to see a whole lot. Although in Roy's case, I'm seeing more than I ever have this year, which is just wonderful. I've been so by that.
So excited.
One more time at least.
Yep, Al bought the tickets while I was in Illinois.
Jesse's town was absolutely charming. Aside from the lack of white girls, the pizza place was as good as advertised. It was delicious. All the people were just friendly and welcoming to us. And I thought it was Jesse seemed really pleased with the whole weekend, which was the most important part to me because it was kind of, he kind of played it off like, oh yeah, let's do the tournament, but it was his birthday weekend. Like he was inviting people essentially into his home, and in some cases literally into his home, although I didn't get a chance to go there. It could have been kind of disastrous, and it turned out not to be at all, and it was just really, really lovely.
Hey, before we go on, what were the full rankings of houses?
The top 4 I know off the top of my head.
Do we know that with buys added though?
Yeah, Jesse said it last night, but it was Tyrell, Targaryen, Stark, and then Lannister were the top 4. I don't remember and Martell was last. That's the other thing. I don't know what what it was between that, but the top 4 were Tyrell, Targaryen, very close, very very tight, very well played competition, and then Stark, and then Lannister. Were the final spots.
That's disappointing. I thought we tied for 3rd in the initial standings, but I guess we didn't have any bye points. So That's weird.
Yeah, Greyjoy was 5th, and then it was.
I mean, that's where we were at war, so I'm not too.
Farah, Night's Watch, and then Martell last.
Well, Night's Watch. Talk about a house that fell from grace.
Just a straight reversal from Cali War.
I mean, the storyline for me is like Martell, like, and because AJ is a good player, and he had good players on his team like Jerry Crane, who did really well in 1.0, and I was just surprised to sort of see, and they have great cards. Like, I just was surprised to see them so low.
But I mean, it's not surprising because they don't have Alex Black as captain, and they don't have me. They don't have Nick Hansen. I mean,
they don't have.
Well, Nick Hansen didn't fare all that well with his chosen house.
Nice one. Yeah.
Yeah, he had a rough day too. A real rough day.
I think too the one of the factors that I saw a lot of was the change in agenda restrictions between Thrones War and Jesse's Name Day. For those who weren't aware, Jesse's Name Day required no more than 2 per player or per team on an agenda, and there were 9 players on a team, so you needed to field 5 different agendas minimum per house, which was a real challenge for probably all the houses. Maybe there's a couple that really sorted it out well, but I saw a lot of stuff there that was like that even the player playing it was like, I don't know if this is really what I want to be doing with my life right now.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think Martell is the one that's like the 5th deck is maybe not so good, but they have Wolf, they have Stag, they have Rose, they have Fealty. That's 4 easy, super good decks.
Agree.
Wars to come.
Well, Wars to come wasn't not.
Yeah, the Martell box was not legal, sadly, or happily, depending.
I think for everybody but Martell, happily, I think
that's
was
true.
Well, clearly.
Wait, you don't think Fleet from Pike would have been a game changer for me?
Hey, clearly.
No, what's the other Greyjoy card? I think you should have been running that attachment that Aaron loves.
Plundered.
Plundered.
I don't
listen
think
to the
it's
next White Book episode and listen to Aaron talk about how great that is.
So wait, but hang on. Clearly Martell is in the worst position, so they needed a box. FFG is pressing.
That's a good point.
You knew it.
That was some real.
Yeah,
good,
they're terrible. They did really poor at and Ryan's war, right? Really bad, right?
You don't have to say Ryan's war.
Well, they didn't win.
No,
they did win.
They didn't win the team event.
An individual. That doesn't count.
Individual, yeah. And Buzz, you were in what? Top 4, right? I mean, that's But so Sandy, how was your experience?
The tournament was an alliance deck.
It's true.
The fifth deck was alliance, and it was their best deck.
It was very well played by Matt too all day. So Sandy, how was your experience?
Well, we got there at 3 a.m. on the day of the tournament. No, we went to bed at 4 a.m. We got there at 3 a.m. and checked into the hotel. Then we got up at 7 and went to the tournament. And then after the tournament, or maybe sometime during the tournament, I started drinking.
You did?
So this place has, I think, $3 Fireball shots or $3 Jack Fire shots.
Oh,
and I spent $500 on shots. So that should tell you about how my tournament went.
According to Jesse at breakfast the next morning, we essentially equaled 2 months of that bar's revenue in a single night. 2 months. 2 months of revenue.
They need to make Jesse the fucking mayor of that town, man.
I mean,
Jesse
we were
Carpenter,
loud, we were obnoxious, but they were so thankful. I mean, we just paid that guy's retirement. Like he's good to go. He can stay in business a few more years. I think he was loving it.
So I would like to shout out to Ben, who was my 7th round matchup, and he agreed to do shots for plots, and he completely destroyed me with a rat cook deck, going like 8 plots. So I don't think Ben actually drinks that much, so that was very impressive. It was it was a good time.
It was a very good time.
I roomed with Ben at the Airbnb. Every morning he was the first one up, just like dapper as can be, completely good to go, as everyone else is just. Oh man, you should Nate Tarantelli. I think he was half alive at breakfast.
Oh my God,
We
Nate!
were all rolling out of bed, super slow. And there's Barnhart every morning, just like sitting at the table, having his cup of coffee. Oh, good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. I don't think, even though he doesn't drink much, I don't think it affected him much. He was a pro all weekend.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's got some game.
He must have secret game. Like he's just secretly in some like seedy bars playing shots for plots with people with no future.
Polish
And
DNA.
Nate almost died in the alley. That makes sense. I mean, how drunk he was. Nate congratulated me 3 times and didn't remember any of them until the time in which that third time when he did it in the morning at breakfast.
I just want to say
that I love Tarantelli, but also he doesn't drink that much. I think I may have introduced him to alcohol. I'm not sure. Like 5 years ago at Worlds when he was like, I don't know, 17. I don't know.
Destroyed the poor boy.
Yeah, Jesse's was really fantastic.
I would like to say one more. Like Jesse is the best host, and I think it takes. I don't organize events because I know that I'm shitty at it. But those of you who have organized events, like, can you imagine organizing an event like that in a town like that where it's not it and arranging everybody's travel and arranging everybody's lodging? Like, I think it was an amazing effort. And on his birthday,
he gave everyone a personal handwritten letter upon registration.
Mine made me cry.
Oh, thanks for coming. Here's your letter. Yeah. It's like, oh my God, a personal letter. Like, he really put so much thought into every element of that weekend. It was great. I mean, really, you just had to do nothing. Just show up, and you were taken care of. It was great.
All right. I think that basically sums up Jesse's event. If you want a full recap of it, you can listen to the Wars to Come episode that I was on yesterday. And yeah, so Sid has our next topic for us because it is somewhat related to. I know it was spun, and this is something maybe Aaron can future Fight World Champion Aaron Glazer, Marvel Future Fight World Champion Aaron Glazer can participate in this topic.
I'm on Twitter. Thank you.
Okay. Can participate in.
I'm on
so
Snapchat.
Sid, what happened at Jesse's event that you want to share with the community and share with our viewers and listeners?
I was, it was after a lot of drinking, and I was raging pretty hard at the tournament at one specific. Well, it's a trend that I see going the wrong way. But I'm vocally anti-alt art. I know everyone is. I don't know. I don't think everyone on this cast is super into alt arts. I don't know if they are. Maybe you guys are. I don't know. I don't get that impression from you. Just sort of into it. But
not Chris.
I really enjoy collecting them, but I don't play with any that are main decks. So
yeah.
I have a binder.
It's the playing of them isn't the worst thing. It's what it's become. Like the fact that people are just high-res scanning cards, not creating their own templates, not bothering. Like the big one was
high-res scanning cards, calling somebody out.
Oh, what is that? Calling somebody out? It's more than one person is doing it now.
Oh, really? I only know one person that did that.
Okay, and then tried to sell them as well. Like it's just not good anymore.
Sell them.
Like it's bad news. It's bad news. It's disrespectful to the artists. It's disrespectful to the people in the community who are actually working, like sending countless emails to artists to try and get permission to actually commission artists to create.
Okay,
and it's too much. Like it's a bridge too far. It makes me mad. It makes me really mad.
I will say it doesn't.
I'm not sure what you're talking about.
Danny, the George Martin box, $500 whatever.
Well, it's $600 because the box is $200 and you only get one copy of the card. So to get 3 copies, you'd have to spend $600 for that.
Yeah. So sets of those were floating all around at Thrones War. And multiple players were playing with them in their decks, and lots of people would say, "Oh yeah, totally wrong, Sid. I can't believe it." And then they go, "But I got my 3," and I'd just be like, "Hypocrite, you joke."
I'm not interested in that.
I wouldn't ever touch them. Actually, I did touch one, so I could take a picture of it and be like, "This bullshit. I'm posting about this." Like it made me so probably unnecessarily angry. But it just made me mad. Like it's gone too far.
Okay.
way too far. It's disrespectful to so many people that are working about it the right way in the community.
So Sid, your problem is not with alt arts. Your problem, like, I think some people have a problem with alt arts, like me.
I guess my problem is with counterfeit. How about that?
Yeah. So actually, but I will take a page from my my rant about this in software, which is that just means there's a supply and logistics problem. There's no mechanism to get legit alt arts. Like, it's so difficult to do it the right way. Because
is it?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Is it not?
Yes, the real right way. He's correct.
What?
Like the
It's
way
super easy.
You mean permission from FFG? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean like
Exactly.
that? Okay.
And I mean,
The semi legit way is pretty easy.
But that's like saying, oh, I only pirate TV shows, but I send money to the actors, or like I PayPal indie bands, but I still pirate their music. I mean, it's fine. I'm just saying, like, it's no one is actually morally doing it right, because I don't know of anybody that has requested permission from FFG to use their IP on cards that they print. So, like, yes, there are definitely gradations of how shitty you are.
Right.
But from my perspective, this is a problem that if FFG gave a shit about, they could fix it. There could be a process that you could go through to request alt arts or whatever as a player, as a store, as a whatever for your event. I think it would be well received. I mean, I think with maybe this new FFG, maybe this is not a pipe dream.
This is 2018. I mean, we still do everything ourselves. Like, the community needs to police it. It's not FFG that I care about. It's all the artists. It's all the people who actually work on these things. I won't play them.
No, you're right.
But if someone wants
Nobody
to play them and they're doing it
at all,
right?
Come on, man.
No, it's bad. It's bad. And the reasons people are doing it are bad in a lot of cases. They're for personal gain and personal things, not to help the community, not to enrich the community.
So, Sid, I just want to be. Go ahead, Sid.
I feel really very cynical about, like, I don't think anyone in the community is like super altruistic. With the like, there are a few maybe that I could see, but like,
ouch.
We all play this game because it's fun for us. Having a healthy community is good for everybody. That's fine. But like, you play the game because you enjoy it. You don't I think there's no one that's like, there's a level of self-interest in making the community healthy. And for some people, that slider is much closer to them than it is to everybody else. And for other people, but I don't think that the right way to get, like, I don't think we should have a community that polices things like this. Like, I think that this is a legal matter. It's an ethical matter. It's not something that, like, oh, your friends are going to think you're shitty if you play with these alt arts. Like, you're already breaking the law.
I definitely have friends that think it's shitty.
Yeah, I'd just like to see him out of tournaments, like, just out of all tournaments. Play it on your kitchen table if you want, but get it out of tournaments.
So I just want to be clear, Sid. Like, so you're just kind of upset with we have like 3 categories. So we have the official FFG alt arts.
Yeah.
Which you're, I guess, 100% okay with, right?
I mean, it's their game. I don't play with them, but they can do what they want.
Right. Okay. So those are no complaints from Sid.
Sure.
Then there's the, I guess you could say, like, traditional fan-made alt art, something like the New York City plots, the that kind of stuff, right?
I don't like them.
You don't like them, but you're okay with that, right?
I mean, by okay means I'm not going to criticize you guys if you want to hand them out. I know people like them. It's fine.
All right. Then the thing you're hating on here are these, like, this newer thing, these, like, counterfeit cards where you're taking, like, other people's alt arts and just sort of making copies of them,
and just the official,
it's
just
and the
templating.
templating.
It's just a scan. There's no templating. There's no change of art. There's no seeking out an artist, which it's fine. Like, the only alt arts that I've ever produced for tournaments are for faction cards, and then we're exploring maybe an agenda this year. But that's it, because those are kind of more kind of representative and ideas rather than the actual, like, formatted card. Like, who cares what the format is on your faction card? It doesn't make a difference. It's more of a representative than an actual thing, than a card with mechanics. It's when you have 14 different formats in someone's draw deck Like I just hate it. I think it's bad for the community, not good for the community. It's bad for the game, not good for the game.
I think
Bad for me.
I don't care about this topic in general, but I think Sid is probably right. Like, there's no real upside to it except people are silly. Like,
Yeah, well,
I mean, people like pretty things, but like, hey, man, if you want to do it, go hire an artist, put up some actual skin for it, or stay out of the game.
yeah. Like if you don't like the art of the game, what? Okay.
I don't even know cards have art most of the time, so I don't really care. Like, look, it's this woman staring off into the distance. No, it's that. She's staring to the right.
And maybe it's just like weird kind of, I don't know. I don't like just dropping like OCD as a thing, but it's just like the desire to see consistent formatting in the game I play and in the stuff that my opponent plays. When everything's just weird cards and I'll tell you what, the light wasn't great at that tournament, and that's not a criticism of the tournament. I couldn't see what those foil cards were. They're so dark under that freaking foil. I'm picking them up.
Dude,
Well, who is?
I swear I lost the game to Brad because of a foil Danny and foil Blood of the Dragon.
You can't read it. You can't even tell what it is in that low light. It's terrible. It's just like I'm watching games. I'm standing right over a game watching them, and I'm watching all these cards flip, and I go, I don't know what the hell these things are. The text is so tiny. The formatting is different on all of them. I don't know what plot that is. I don't know what care. Like I would be picking up every single card and reading, and it's like I'm not a new player. I don't want to do that. I want to play the game. I don't like it. It's just too much BS.
All right. So that is the end of Sid's hating on fun.
That was a very low key version of my of the rant that went on.
You're relatively sober. You got to work tomorrow.
I know.
So we're going to move on to our final segment, which finally world champion Marvel Future Fight player Aaron Glazer.
I'm going to go play WoW.
Has which is his top 5 cards for the forthcoming pack.
Forthcoming. Right, that's a real word.
Right, it comes out next week. We will not have an episode next week, obviously. So we will not have a chance to talk about these cards. So the Faith Militant comes out on the 12th, I believe. And we are going to talk about them. So what do you got for us, Glazer?
We're going to count down from 5 to 1. There's also 2 side cards I want to talk about. One specifically just to make Roy happy. Number 5 on the list is Sacrifice to the Red God. Do we remember what the hell that is?
Nope.
It is the 0 cost attachment that goes on a R'hllor character.
It's an event, I thought.
I thought it was an attachment. Am I crazy? I'm sleepy, so it's been okay. An event, 0 cost event that you play on a R'hllor character to sack it, and then go get another R'hllor character of equal or lower cost.
No, it's just a character that died this phase. Do you want me to get the cards? Do you want me to bring the cards up?
Yes, that seems like a good idea. It's been a long day. Yeah. No, I don't think you're right, but I could be wrong. Go ahead, read it.
It's going to take a minute. Go on to the next card. I didn't have it immediately open.
All right, the next card is 2 cards because they're going together.
Can you send this in the chat, by the way, because it's not on Thrones TV yet?
Yeah, that's. I had to go dig. That's why I don't have them as members as I usually do, because I usually just keep
go
up on
find
Thrones TV in front of me.
Those thinking Euro spoilers. Is that what we have to go find?
They're French. They're French.
You're right. You always put that in there. It's the French.
Waiting
Glazer, just start. It's going to take me a while to find them. I don't have them like immediately available. So
killing me. Dead. All right, number 4 is 2 cards. It's Tarl the Thrice Drowned and Given to the Drowned God. It is the Drowned God stuff. I wanted to talk about Sacrifice to the Red God, which I apparently don't remember because it was 8 hours ago when I did this. But no, it wasn't God. It was like 15 hours ago. I've been awake for like a really long time today. Whatever. Tarl and Given to the Drowned God are number 4. I think they're the final pieces. I think Drowned God shit is T1 with these 2 cards. Thoughts?
Yes,
yeah,
it is.
Drowned God's amazing.
I can't believe they printed Tarl.
Tarl is so good.
Just marshal him out of your dead pile. Who cares?
What does Tarl do for the viewers who don't spoil and for me?
Oh, Tarl is you can marshal Drowned God characters out of your non-unique Drowned God characters out of your dead pile. Right.
All right. So
and there's a dude that gains power.
You want me to read both of the?
Sure. Start reading.
All right. So
read Sacrifice to the Red God.
Sacrifice to Drowned God is an event. Greyjoy.
No, Sacrifice to the Red God.
Oh, Red God. That one I have to find. I found the Drowned God cards right away. Hold on.
Are they both called the same thing, just with a different god put in?
No, one's given to the Drowned
God.
God.
So the Barra card
is hand, so you cannot believe.
Sacrifice to the Red God, which is a 0-cost loyal Baratheon R'hllor event. Be played only if you control a R'hllor character. Marshalling action. Sacrifice a character to search for a R'hllor character with equal or lower printed cost, and add it to your hand. Shuffle your deck.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's completely amazing for Selyse decks. Like, you basically, once you've used Selyse, she's just a shitty body, right? You get her in an intrigue challenge, and you're like, all right, I'm going to go get me another copy of her, or I'm going to go get Melisandre. That is awesome. Like, I feel like, and you get the kneel from it, too. Would you get the kneel from it? Could you use, like, if you were going to sack Mel, you could, like, trigger
She's reaction.
Okay.
She's still being played.
So you can't use it on Mel. You can use it on literally anyone else. You can make sure you constantly have a stream of R'hllor cards. There's many ways to do cool things with this. I think it is new life to that deck, which is already pretty goddamn good right now.
Is it? I don't think it's that good, but okay.
It's pretty good on Selyse decks because you got to find ways to get Selyse out of play.
This was number 5.
Yeah,
this is the 5th one. Yeah. All right. So number 4, is that the draw event?
That's the draw event and Tarl.
So the draw event is offered to the Drowned God, which is
kill a Drowned God to draw the cards.
One
that are
cost
or strength.
1 cost. Kill a Drowned God character to draw X cards. X is the printed cost of that character.
Yeah,
and then
amazing.
Oh my
Tarl
God.
the Thrice Drowned is a 5/4 intrigue power. You may marshal non-unique Drowned God characters from your dead pile as if they were in your hand. So it gets around things like
barring the gates. It's amazing.
Unfortunately, isn't Old Forest Hunter loyal?
Yes, it is.
Why?
Yeah, that's because otherwise you acolyte, draw cards, you discard them, you get the gold, marshal them from your dead pile. I don't know. Some bullshit there.
It's pretty busted though.
Some bullshit there.
It's pretty busted as is.
Yeah.
You just kill them to draw that many cards, then marshal them.
But they limited the Old Forest Hunter, like back when they used to put limits on cards. So it wouldn't have been that busted.
Yeah, Tarl is totally unlimited. So like Valor, plop Tarl, play all your Drowned Gods out again.
I miss Old Tarl. Old Tarl, the Thrice Drowned, he just gained a power every time you saved him, except when you did it the 4th time, he died. he was not Tarl the 4th round.
That was very schematic design.
He was so good in melee. He was so good.
I'm excited for our Drowned God Overlords thing. Not at all because I want to play Drowned
but
God.
where's the Thrice? I want to limit 3 per phase or something. I don't know.
Talk to Danny, not me. All right, what's cards 3?
Card 3 is Cold Hands.
Oh yeah.
What?
Cold Hands was actually spoiled, right? So
he is. He is on Thrones TV.
Yeah, Cold Hands is unreal. Look, the top 2 cards are real good, Buzz. Like,
is Cold Hands really that good?
Yes.
The same as 1.0 Cold Hands, right? I don't.
Yes, but
it's similar. You can't blink himself. You can't blink him to blink somebody for no effect.
Right. Or to get like a duper attachment off somebody.
And it's significantly more expensive.
Yeah.
And limited in faction.
Yeah. So, but if 5 costs to, I don't know, remove Mace from the game seems pretty fucking good.
Not worth it. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Same effect as 1st edition.
See, it's enter play, right? Or is it Marshall? That's the one question I had.
I thought you were looking
play,
up,
I think.
I looked up.
Did you end up finding these French spoilers, by the way?
I did. They're in the Reddit.
In the Reddit? In the
chat. I can bring
chat?
up individual ones. I can post the overall Reddit link.
Yes,
Cold Hands is FU Marshall.
FU Marshall.
Oh, thank God.
Boring.
Because he's not loyal, so Arion. You still stick him in a Martell Watch deck, though, right? Like,
sure.
Pretty much immediately. He also has Cold Hands.
He's a good answer to. He's good for the like Danny, whatever the decks that rely on a single character are. Solis.
Yeah. I mean, he's like Mace. So many, like, he really hurts Mace decks, and that's really good. Making Mace go away sometimes is amazing.
Well, we'll see how much he hurts him. They usually don't play him unless they have multiple protection for him. So
Sure,
he
but
definitely is able to strip a dupe at least.
Well,
The stripping the dupe is big.
and Bodyguard does nothing.
Right.
Like, he ignores Bodyguard, and a lot of times it's just Mace plus Bodyguard, and you're just like, all right, well, I don't care about you.
Mhm.
And, like, yeah, it's
Well,
not a
just
lot of
reach
work
that
to
point,
just
apparently.
play that 1 5-cost character, and then you're like, all right, that's done. Like, 5-cost character, trigger, and unless they have Begging Brother out, he's trigger. Ready for number 2?
Sir
Yes, sir.
Pounds.
No, number 2 is Arya.
Arya, yeah. She's really good.
New Arya Stark is amazing. It
She's
is,
She's
card.
competing with core Arya, which is like one of the best characters in the game.
yeah, I think this Arya is one of the best characters in the game, also, and better.
So
It's
this Arya
she's
is
definitely not strictly better. There will be some
No.
that run
Fair.
this or the other.
I think in the decks that she's good for, she does more.
Yeah, she's a real build around compared to Arya, which just goes in every good Stark deck or bad Stark deck.
Yeah,
or
I mean,
bad Banner Wolf deck or good Banner Wolf deck.
I think what you mean, yeah.
She's a 2-for-2 military intrigue. Lady characters cannot be saved while Arya Stark is standing. That's her text.
It's
There was a
characters
break
cannot
there.
be saved.
Characters cannot be
Yeah,
saved.
it's not
Lady
lady characters cannot be saved.
No,
right?
she's a lady. I apologize if I wasn't clear with my punctuation.
I had you.
But, like,
You were
its
good.
characters can't be saved from anything. So if you're running her and Martella and you want to like big Ariane summon away and they have a dupe, it's like, all right, that's not a problem anymore. Or
Yep.
like anything. Like
She's a much better
blade
answer to
someone
Mace
who's dupe.
than Cold
Yeah.
Hands.
You want to
No
I
doubt.
don't know if she's a
She
better,
definitely
but
helps
she's
the
also
Martell Wolf
awesome.
matchup with that deck.
She's awesome She's awesome against stupid Tinder Marge that insists on having like 3 ladies in waiting.
I mean, and once you've used her a couple times, then you're just like, all right, well, I'm going to Ramsey her away.
She's also your characters, right? She's all characters.
Yeah, all
characters.
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 She
Yeah,
herself
characters
cannot be saved,
That's good.
obviously.
Yeah, but like generally speaking, Martell doesn't really want to save its own characters.
Does she gain anything from any like the septas or anything? Like comboing them? No, nothing worthwhile. I can't remember if she gets.
Well, she gets an
anything.
she already has
she gets
an intrigue
immune to
icon, though.
plot effects. Immune to plot effects.
Does
It's
she?
actually
Wait a
really
minute.
good.
No, I thought that was
What was that brand?
no Maester Aemon. She gets an intrigue icon.
No.
Septim Ordained.
Sandy's right.
Septim Ordained. Does
Sandy
she get
is
immune to
right.
plot effects?
Immune to
That is
opponent's plot
unreal.
effects.
Opponent's
So I don't
plot
think you could Valor and then just
Sell.
You can't march her.
That's true. But your opponent can't Valor then if you have her out and expect to get rid of her, which is nice.
Well,
That's
if they
rough.
Valor and she's still there, like everyone is dead. Everyone's dead.
Well, at that point, you're using Sam's event to just make them Valor, and then you can't save.
Oh God, that's so brutal.
Yeah,
There's a lot of brutal plays that are forthcoming with this Arya. Martell Wolf
Well,
gets.
and also with Sam's card.
Oh yes, and Sam's card. So
Sam's card
Nice
is-
Watch. Nice Watch. Wolf will also get better.
I mean, we gave Louise a lot of crap for his champ card. We're not going to give Sam crap for that champ card.
I gave him
That's
crap.
pack six.
We'll
That's
get
pack
I gave him
six.
a lot of crap.
Pack
Oh.
6. You got a
He
whole
was
nother
talking
pack
about
before.
cards, the other cards he wants to design. They were so bonkers, silly that this is nothing. This event that he
his-
got through is nothing compared to what he wants
his,
to get through.
King in the South plot idea. Jakob and Buzz should message him about that. They will find it very amusing.
Yeah,
It was a good idea.
I know.
he had a deck,
That's another.
a card called Six Flags, which made you play with 6 decks. All right, he was off his rocker this weekend.
Oh,
It
man,
all kind
that
of made a
sounds
weird,
great.
bizarre kind of
I'm
sense, which
kinda
was
here
the
for
worst
that.
part of it.
I'm sure it made a lot of sense. It was probably broken, but was
You
very
brought-
Oh
logical.
yeah,
What's our number one? I'm
Good
guessing. I
idea.
assume it's the
Let's
one.
Assume
you
it's
say.
Danny.
Oh yeah.
It's Danny, who's immediately one of the best characters in the game.
Wait, but the Facebook group told me she was bad, Aaron.
The face.
She doesn't have insight, and she doesn't have Stormborn, so she's terrible.
That was the exact moment when I stopped. Like I turned off notifications.
Sandy, you and I had which was it the ride back to Indy or from Indy that I convinced you it was a good card?
You had to be convinced?
Oh yeah, he did.
No,
we had like an hour-long conversation.
I think it's an actual choice to run this. Like, I don't think this Danny automatically goes in every Targ deck.
No.
Versus the other Danny.
No, I just think the better Targ decks are running her. I think that I think that like once she's out, like the other Targ decks are still really good, and then the Targ decks that have this Danny are just kind of stupid and nearly broken.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I think this Danny is good in maybe 60%, 70% of Targ decks that are good. But I think there are like 30% of decks that run old Danny that are just still really good.
I think that's good. I think there's a clear delineation. I think that deck that Buzz had me look at, the who was it, Nicolos deck? That HRD Plaza? Yeah, I think that's just waiting for this Danny.
Yeah,
it is.
Dumb.
Yes.
Like
that is the exact correct deck for it.
Buzz is licking his virtual chaps.
I've got like 15 of those where I'm just like, I just want to stick this Danny in and then be like, all right, so I'm not scared of Valor. I'm not scared of the other Valor. I'm not scared of her being burned. Unless you're running HFK, I'm not worried.
Yeah, the fact that she's only a 5 cost is like,
yeah, and that she can't be burned. She can't be burned.
If she could be burned, that would make Targ mirror matches like
dumb.
Good, fuck
awful.
It. Good, fuck it, fine. Good, limited. No, she can't be burned.
She can be burned.
She can be Houseful Knighted.
She can be Nightmares then burned. That is accurate. She can be Houseful Knighted. She can be.
Krevik in chat would like to provide us with the, some would say friendly reminder, I would say awful reminder that it lets Targ run duel now, which is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Now,
Danny, Drogo, and duel. You can run it.
Why do you want Drogo in your Targ duel deck?
I did.
You did?
I ran 3x Call, 3x Miri, and 1x Jack, and Duel. It was so good.
Okay.
Do it.
Well, you can sideboard it in, right?
That's right. Now.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so Danny's busted. I think, yeah. I mean, apparently Danny... One thing that Scott Levine learned at the very small Stro Championship we had in New York City that I was able to go to because I was at the protest is that the reason Joe Mirando quit Thrones was the spoiler of this Danny, that he said he would never go to a tournament again. So this is one of the many gifts that Daenerys Targaryen has given us as the one true queen of Westeros.
Ruler of the Seven Kingdoms.
The Dragon Queen.
Well, it's a good thing Annals is
SJW apparently.
Right?
Yeah.
But it is, but I mean...
Play it as you're restricted.
Yeah, you can play it as you're restricted in this deck. You just don't play Hand's Judgments.
Yeah, the issue would have been if they could play Hand's Judgment and All the Burn and Annals.
Well, you don't even... I mean, you don't need burn events for this. You can actually literally just play...
Sure. It just gets that much better.
Yeah, you can play Targ events and then just general strength lowering bullshit, right? Like... Your little like -1 when you discard a gold from a guy is with Danny. You like, just played like
they play Dragon's Tail in this deck. It's like,
no, it has to be Target.
Dragon's Sight.
You could play Dragon's Sight. That's the one you might definitely play.
Well, Dragon's Sight's now an immediate -2 strength. The little -1 strength guy makes that kill every 3-coster. God forbid you're running a goddamn Astapor or a Plaza Punishment.
Why would people play Astapor? That's a fucking terrible card.
Now that we're going to be able to sideboard Siege, forget about
Siege.
it.
Eat it. Hey, the best play in the world, someone plays their Gates of the Moon, Aaron Glazer's favorite card, and then you go, I have an action. Lay siege that.
Yeah, people do forget that you can lay siege the shit out of Gates of the Moon.
I didn't remember you could. That is fantastic. I feel like Breaking Ties royally fucks up. Breaking Ties is real bad for you.
All right, it's getting late here on the East Coast, my friends. So, Glazer, what are the other two cards?
I want you to talk about. I don't want everyone to talk about Serpounce.
Sir Pounce is an amazing card. It is the number 1 card in the pack. First off, I'm sorry, Sid and Glazer, you said you didn't care about art.
No.
The art is amazing, and I am definitely going to slap a photo of my cat on this as an alt art because I love cats, and I love my cat, and I love this card. And I'll play, the only deck I will play in the future is Stark Lion, because I want to play puppies and kittens all together
Cats and dogs
forever.
living together.
Like,
Mass hysteria.
yeah.
My favorite moment will be when he uses Grey Wind to chomp his own Sir Pounce somehow, and then he'll cry.
Can't. Sir Pounce is an
Sir
attachment. Grey Wind can't
that's true.
chomp.
But he is also a knight, which is
This is awesome. The card is super thematic. It is. Danny A+. Like, my faith in Danny was restored when this card was spoiled. Like, yeah, who cares that Mace doesn't have a limit? Who cares about combo? He designed this awesome thematic card. A+.
What does it do?
It gives characters printed cost 3 or lower an intrigue icon, I believe, and they do not kneel when declared as an attacker, right?
On intrigue.
On intrigue
Specifically.
Yes. But you put this on Little Theon.
Yeah, Little Theon. Yeah.
Or Core Aria.
Aria is also really good. The core Aria is super good with
and then you give her Wolf King, and she's just like, boom, boom, bam, 3 challenges.
Oh, Voltron Aria, yes. It comes with the natural dupe. Eat it, people.
And then I
first snow.
And I play the other Aria and kill her.
Lower up. But you get Sir Pounce back to hand then.
I do get Sir Pounce.
And
Pounces, right?
Wolf King is also
he was the
nocturnal.
prince that was promised.
That's really easy, little guy Voltron. Yeah, no, that card's awesome. And I feel like we have to talk about the new agenda because it's a new agenda, and we can't just be like, hey, new agenda came out, let's ignore it.
Sandy has strong opinions about this subject. Sandy, this is a card. Faith Militant is what we're talking about, Sandy, just to be clear. The agenda.
Oh, yeah.
2 hours talking about the card.
Dude, I love Faith Militant.
Why? What does it do? What does it do? Why do you like it?
It does something. I don't know. You get power from somebody.
you can tell his excitement is palpable.
No, I just like the 7. I like the whole theme of the 7, which is basically remove all fun from the game. No degeneracy. Everyone is playing fair Game of Thrones when you have the 7 characters. No, what is the actual text of the agenda? It's like when you win a challenge. When you win a challenge, you take a power from their house and put it on your house.
So non-7 characters and locations you control cannot gain power. Reaction: after you win a challenge, kneel your faction card to move 1 power from the losing opponent's faction card to a participating the 7 character you control.
Yeah.
Right. So the 7 characters, there's one that prevents you from gaining gold in challenges. There's one that limits the number of cards you can draw. There's probably other ones that I can't remember, but those are the 2 that really stick out in my mind.
Doesn't let you target
the House Tully
characters, triggered effects.
Lets you knock one of those power off for -2 gold.
But only on the 7 and Tully characters.
Right, but all your guys are 7, right? Like they have to be.
Both Caitlyn Starks are the 7, so yeah. But also
even the good one.
Yeah, even the good one. The good one is very thematically the 7 because she prevents a lot of fun.
I mean, I think High Sparrow, man.
Yeah, I know.
Sparrow. He's one mentioned that you can only gain 7 gold.
Hey, does High Sparrow mean that? Because I guess that's this pack also. Does High Sparrow mean that if you count in coppers, you have to skip draw phase?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. That's I'm gonna sideboard that in all the time. No, I think but I love the idea of there being a fair, an enforced fair deck. And that's what this deck is going to be. And I also think that isn't there a plot that moves power off of characters? Am I just making that up?
Yeah, I don't know if that
was spoiled. I think. I think that's in the 6th deck, though.
Yeah, I think it's a Barra thing.
No, it's not a Barra thing. It's a plot that says you move power off your characters to your house.
Is the one plot also 7, the edict one that lets you move that no one can you have to give your gold back at the beginning of challenges,
that is also the 7.
That's a 7 plot.
6-2-1.
Yeah. That's, there you go.
That one
They snuck a theme up on us, guys, like up out of nowhere.
I don't think of all the themes that they've developed, I think this one was not snuck. This was like
what's the relevance of the 7 on the plot?
there's nothing.
Oh, just that it's another card that, like, no fun, shuts down your stuff, take away all your gold.
Okay, yeah, it fits the theme.
I'm waiting
that
for,
plus the 7 guy means you can't, like, your gold goes away and you can't gain any more gold. Like that's kind of a cool little thing going on.
I'm waiting for the number of revealed the 7 cards you get plus something.
Claim.
Yeah, I would say keep waiting.
7-pointed star.
If you control 7 cards, you win the game.
7 cards.
You can get a trial of 7 card. It could be fun.
Did you guys talk about the event, by the way?
What event?
Oh, the event's good too.
After you lose dominance, move
the
2
event
power?
is so good. 1 power. You move 1 power. After you lose dominance, take 1 power.
No, it's 2.
It's 2.
Two.
Okay. Oh, it's so sick. Oh my god.
Yeah, I think Faith Milton's going to be really good. I don't know if we have enough cards for it yet, but I think we're close.
I mean, Stark No Fun Police with 7th theme. It's just good.
You know, I'm
I just
just
feel
going
like
to
if you
build a
can get high
Martell,
spec.
the 7 that runs Dorn as its draw engine, and because it's reveal you get to look at the card. You don't actually say it doesn't say the word draw, so it gets around both
So the
your
High Sparrow
own
doesn't.
High Sparrow and your opponent's High Sparrow. So boom.
Then you run
Lawyer.
the 3 to 7 characters, and who cares because you don't get the power on any of your characters anyway.
So there you go.
Is High Sparrow 5 cost?
5. Yep.
Yeah, so Ariane is ass in, do all your draw shit, and then be like, boom, Ariane, fuck yo.
Count all on a trip.
You know,
Count all
plans,
your
no.
gold. It's like, first action. All right, have fun now. You can draw
No,
one more card.
Yeah.
No fun now.
No, my first action is then
No fun now.
sacrificing it's sacrificing my messenger raven to sacrifice him.
To bounce him, you mean?
To bounce him, yeah.
So I think the problem here with the High Sparrow, his strength is 3. Yeah, this would have been better coming out. Excuse me, in literally any other pack.
Any other pack with
Yeah.
the one with Danny who will kill him immediately.
Yes, well, Danny looks at him and goes, I want to draw cards. Die.
Just build a tower on him. It's fine.
Like
Put
everyone
Tokar
else.
on it. Then a bunch of other attachments. That can never
Tokar's
be
target.
Ah,
yeah.
Well, you put the thing where he
Oh,
kneels and
he's
he
only
blank.
targeting characters.
Well, no, you
Guys,
take the,
I think we're underestimating the impact of the Strangler on the meta.
why?
That
Oh yeah,
It
yeah.
happens
So you
to
put
be
the
a challenge.
Strangler on High Sparrow, and then
Yep.
then they can't die.
So but it's only
Obviously.
in challenges, right? So if you can play all the
Oh,
burn
never
effects
mind.
on it, and then
yeah.
as soon as it leaves the challenge,
dies.
the character dies. Correct?
Yeah, that's happened to me multiple times. Yes, I forgot about that part, and then I'm like, oh. So
Strong stuff.
yeah, man. Welcome back.
I like
so
Nintendo.
I'd like to welcome back Targ back to the meta after about 3 months out.
I don't know
Oh.
what Tark was out.
I don't- I'm not,
They were
I'm not sure it ever left.
they weren't being played a lot at the very least. I'd like to welcome them back. I hope you enjoy eating a bunch of Martell stuff. I'm real like, as much as I hate this Danny, I actually hate Shadow City Bastards more. And like, hey, I'm okay with that. Like, get rid of
Fair.
Shadow City Bastards. Although a Starfall into Tears is a fairly good answer to Danny.
Or Shadow City Bastards and a Tears.
Well, Shadow City
Eh.
Bastards will be dead 80% of the time. Their second player, my first action is to play that Targ event and make them die immediately.
All right. Well, I think we've kind of talked today out. To be completely honest, it is close to 1 a.m. here on the East Coast. I have to get up, as I told everyone, when we were in our pre-plan and do some banking shit in the morning. So I have to get up early. So all kinds of fun. So I'm killing this episode. I want to thank all of my castmates for joining us. We actually have I think this is one of the few times recently we have all of us on the cast and participating. Does anybody have any announcements or anything they want to say before we log
Yeah.
off?
I got one. All
Sure.
hail King Roy.
There you
Right.
go.
All hail.
I
Yeah,
did
King
admit it.
Tyrell.
King Tyrell. Yeah, Tyrell won. Congratulations to Jake Platt for also winning. And congratulations to myself.
Sandy.
I was on the team too.
He won the whole.
Forgotten member.
Won the whole thing.
It was Sandy's playmat, obviously. It
was Sandy's playmat.
Yeah, it was intimidating.
I also have to congratulate Jake Platt for puberty. I hear he hit it a couple weeks ago. It's very
I will
big for him.
congratulate myself for being the highest placing king as well, which was kind of my biggest accomplishment. I played some good thrones that day. Yeah. So we should raffle off some of those playmats. I don't have a spare one. I'm not giving mine up. So are you giving yours up, Sandy, or should I print some more?
No, I mean, I think we should
print at least one
more.
Guys,
a champion version, right?
It's going to be part of our page. Wait, transition to end the episode. It's going to be part of our Patreon, but tune in next week to find out more.
Okay, yeah, I'll print more for our
we don't have an episode next week. I don't know.
2 weeks.
We have an episode in 2 weeks, which would be April.
By the time they get this up as a podcast, it'll be a week.
Right? Episode 17.
Yeah.
The 17th episode on the 17th. Whew. Losing my thread. So since nobody has any other announcements, I'm going to just encourage people to come to Tom's tournament on Saturday, April the 14th, the Siege of Castle Rock in Norton, Massachusetts. Tom's amazing. He's going to organize a great event. If you're on the East Coast, you should go. I know Jesse is going. I know Jake Platt is going. I know a bunch of people from Boston are coming and some people from Jersey. So go to the Siege of Castle Rock in Norton, organized by friend of the show, Tom Malucci.
If anyone's free this weekend, come to Houston for the Siege of Starfall. Is that what it is?
Struggle of Starfall.
Struggle of Starfall.
Yeah.
Yes.
Team Stark Stalwart.
Dustin's a good name. So go to Dustin's event, go to Tom's event, listen to our podcast, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Facebook, leave a 5-star review on iTunes.
Oh my God.
Help me
buy
wow.
Buy a HelloFresh subscription using the Second Sons code SONS4 when you check out.
That's what we need to do. We need to get HelloFresh in on this bitch.
You guys want Amazon?
Please don't attempt to do that. Buzz, you should kill the episode. Good night, everybody. I love you all.
Bye, everybody.